Okay everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're back on GT Sport and we're back with the FIA Nations race at Laguna Seca in the N300 cars. So for this race it was a single make race in the Porsche. Now this car we have driven before, so we already have the overpowered livery. As you can see, the overpowered livery starting from P1 on the grid. That wasn't myself obviously because I'm not that fast. So Josetti starting in P1 with an incredible lap time there. I think that was possibly without a slipstream, I'm not 100% sure. But as you can see, the delivery was quite clearly overpowered starting from P1. And we used this at Fuji, managed to get a podium out of this car at Fuji. I think we actually finished P2. However, that race was in the N200 class of car. This now in the N300 class, so a little bit more power. Starting from P12, you can see there wasn't a particularly brilliant qualifying. This wasn't the final race of the day, and there is a big reason for that. You're going to see what happens during this opening lap. So starting, getting a reasonably good start. You can see I actually got really good traction off the start. Take the traction control off, going down into turn 1, and we're just going to try and brake early. As usual, I don't really want to lunge up the inside or anything. We tend to brake quite early into these situations rather than risking any chaos. Brake early, then take a nice tight apex. You can normally gain some places doing that. You can see carrying a very tight apex. A lot of shunting and barging going on there. We see a gap. Take that opportunity to go for a gap, and we get ourselves up into P9. I don't think he saw us there on the inside. He actually carried on turning in, but 100% a fair move. The opportunity was there, took that nicely, and up to P9. So a good start in this race, considering we started P12. 3 positions gained through the first corner, and overall looking quite positive as we now come into the braking zone. We have Org and Tempt in front of us, and we've got a lot of cars very close together up ahead. You can see there's a car gone wide. He's having to go left, so Org's had to go around the left hand side. Very closely packed as we come into the braking zone, and I try and chuck this in like I normally would, and he braked very early. I think they were just braking cautious, which probably would have been the right thing to do. However, I was trying to go through there like I normally would, and unfortunately we had the pinball effect. So luckily no one got wiped out in that situation. Everyone got through there without any loss of positions, which was lucky to see, as I would have felt quite guilty if I would have obviously knocked him out and lost in positions. I would have actually waited for him. As we then work our way through to the final few corners, you can see a lot of battling going up ahead, and I was actually feeling pretty confident at this point. It looked like if they keep battling, we might be able to get a couple of positions just through people making mistakes. Going into the final braking zone, braked in our normal spot, and then you see the car suddenly stopped in front of me, and we hit him. Pinball effect, and he's off. So we had to lift. Now you're going to see on my throttle input sign starting to lift, waiting for him to see when he's coming through. I wasn't quite sure how much we had punted him off there, but decided that we have to let him through. We can't carry on. He's gone off the track, and we're going to have to brake. You can see I'm actually off the throttle and braking now nice and early, letting everyone catch back up, letting the driver that I took out get back and lead. And I decided to let everyone go through because it would have been risky to try and cut in front of all them. So down to P20, race over. So let's have a little look at what actually happened now. Now when we watch the replay, I actually see what actually happened was it was a pinball effects of him hitting the car in front. So watch this as we slow it down. He actually hits. He goes from 50, 44 there, 44 instantly down to 33. That causes a 10 miles per hour instant deceleration. That was in slow motion as well, and watch it how it decelerates, and then you cause a pinball effect. So I didn't know that when it was live, and I thought I took him out, but actually it was just the pinball physics on the game which caused the incident. So yeah, I probably should have carried on, but in the instant that it happened, I thought that that was my fault, and I felt I should wait for him. So we had to go again, and in this race we managed to get ourselves in a little bit of a better qualifying position. Still a very tough lobby. You can see some very fast drivers still in this race. And we got Steve Gaming there in P4, myself in P5. I was very happy with this qualifying. I think we did a 38.7 724 without a particularly strong slipstream as well. I think we only had one car in front of us, so was very happy to start from P5. Let's see if we can make up some progress in this race. So working our way down into turn 1 again. We really want to try and keep this nice and clean. We're in a reasonably good, strong position for the start of the race. Starting from P5 is not the worst place you could start. Obviously, it's not the best. You want to be at the front. But starting in P5, we can try and make up some places. You can see, managed to straight away get a position on Steve Gaming on the outside. However, he's then managed to get the inside and put himself back up to P4. So, had to just tuck back underneath Steve and sit in P5. So, no positions lost, no positions gained. That's never a bad thing in FIA from a standing start. The worst thing you can do is ruin your race on the opening corner. So straight away, things are okay. We're still in P5, and you never know what could happen. This car was a tricky car to drive. possibly one of the trickier cars recently. It was enjoyable though. I did enjoy this car. It's just had a little bit of a tendency to randomly oversteer through some of the corners, and it had a little bit of understeer every now and then. And Steve, I don't know what has happened there. It looks like possibly disconnection or something's broken on his steering wheel. It's gone straight off into the shadow realm, never to be seen again. And we're now up to P4 in this race, and a podium is looming up ahead. You can see Favaris obviously in the lead there. Favaris was absolutely flying at this combination, I have to say. Very, very fast times that he was putting in, considering he didn't have a slipstream on his qualifying laps. But now, if we can hang in the slipstream and maybe let Favaris drag us forward a bit, you can see pushing through there. We're 7 tenths behind. Looking at the replay camera, you can see just how close this race is. Obviously, everyone pretty much still within slipstream ranges. We see another car going off there, straight off into the braking zone, and he's probably going to be out of this race now. And you can see him just rejoining, losing about 10 positions or more in this race. So, unfortunate for that driver, but his race will be over from there pretty much. There's no coming back from the back of the grid really. You're not going to get the result that you want. But for ourselves, we're still in P4 and just trying to hang on. Again, looking at the replay cameras on this game, I really do enjoy them, especially this helicopter cam. I said it on a previous video, we really need these cameras on every track and all the way around. I wish that we had a separate option for replays just for the helicopter cameras. They look absolutely amazing on this game. As we jump back on board and we see PCM there in front of us, massive moment. He's going to go defensive. We're going to try and go around the outside. This is very, very tricky now to try and hang this road car around the outside of this corner, because there's no grip on the outside because it is off cambered. So you see the inside has the most grip. He manages to get himself back up alongside us, and then we're into the braking zone for the very tricky left. I decided to brake early, undercut, and get back up on the inside and give myself the inside now into the corkscrew. So clever driving there. We made the move, started the move with the outside, managed to brake early for the left-hander and got the cut back, and now up to P3. So actually into a podium position in this race, which was quite a surprise. However, looking at the gap to P2 now, P2 is still in the slipstream to Favaris, and we're verging on losing it. You can see we're about 1.4, it keeps going up to 1.5 to 1.4. That is when you're really close to losing the slipstream, and you don't really want to be there, because if the car in front's got the slipstream, it's going to be very hard for you to stay in that tow range. So I had to really go for it on this lap and put a very solid lap in. So you're going to see now, this lap is really 100% concentration, and it is really strange. Some laps you can really pull a lap together with this car, and then other laps you don't really feel like you're losing too much time, but you look at the lap time and it's like a second slower. So it's very, very difficult to get consistent with, and that is probably what I'm lacking with these type of cars. There is probably potential there to get lap pace out of it, but it's a consistency in achieving that lap pace. I think you've really got to work on your smoothness with these cars and concentrate on apexes and exit speed. It's so important with cars like this to really get the exit speed out of the corners as we go through their purple sector, which is nice to see, considering that Favaris there is on a 1:38.4, a very good lap with no slipstream. Absolutely insane pace by Favaris. Now I have said this so many times about Favaris, one of the strongest drivers on the game when he's at a combination that he's fast at, which to be honest is not normally road cars. Favaris normally shows a lot of pace in some of the Group 3 cars, but in this combination he's absolutely flying, and showing why I rate him as one of the top 5 drivers in Gran Turismo. Personally, that's my opinion. I think he's definitely up there. He's got the potential. Hopefully he can do very well in one of the world tours upcoming. I really hope to see him on that podium. I think he deserves it with the pace that he has. A lot of people will have witnessed how fast he is at certain combinations in like the Audi R8. He's absolutely insane in that car. But however, look up ahead and he has actually picked up a half-second penalty. So at this point I'm thinking if we can just get close enough to P2, we might be able to grab onto that slipstream again. It's going to be interesting. You can see that Favaris is trying to break that toe, doing the weave in to try and avoid him getting the slipstream. As we go over the line, we're just going to take the normal line because we don't really need to pick up that toe. But you can see we're just outside the slipstream range, but we go over the line with a pretty solid 1:38.7. We're going to fast forward now all the way up through the first sector and then into the uphill section just before the corkscrew. You're going to see now, we're going to start playing now, and P2 very close to Favaris. However, he makes a mistake. I think he hits the sausage. One thing you never want to do is hit that sausage, and he's off the track and suffering now, and he's going to have very, very dirty tyres. You can see going into the braking zone. I know that he's going to have dirty tyres, so you see I position the car very far wide so I can try and get a very strong entry into this corner, which we do pretty well, but we're not really in an overtaking position. He's still going to be suffering with a bit of grip loss on them tyres. Once you've been off the track, you do lose a lot of track grip. However, he drives it very well, very defensive. You can see holding the right lines and making it very hard for me to go for an overtake. So we're going to try and go around the outside here. Will we be able to brake a little bit later and get a really strong exit from this corner? It's very hard when you're in a position where you're trying to overtake, but you've got to defend from the car behind as well. So very close racing, really enjoyable racing as well. I have to say, this race surprised me. I didn't expect it to be as enjoyable as it was, but there was some really close, clean racing going on. A lot of overtakes, surprisingly. I think it's because this track isn't really a slipstream track, so the total, obviously a benefit, it wasn't stopping people for going for moves, and that was quite important as we work our way on lap 5 now, about a third of the way through the track, just under a third of the way through the race, and it seems to be going reasonably well so far. We're obviously in the podium. If we can maintain a podium position at this combination in road cars, which I've said so many times before is my weakness, I would be 100% happy. You know, picking up a podium in the N300 class is always a benefit for myself. If you can gain points in this class, then we can gain points elsewhere as well, in terms of like the Group 1 races. They're the ones that normally suit myself, and sometimes Group 3 as well, as we work our way through that really fast left-hand corner. You can see my car nearly going into a drift there. We maybe did that a little bit too aggressive, and you can see how close P4 is, almost pushing us up the hill. Just look how insanely close that is into the braking zone. Very close, clean racing going on here as we all work our way through the corkscrew, and everyone getting through there nice and clean. It's really nice to see that this race so far looks like it's been fairly clean, no real incidents. Everyone driving respect for us. We have an overtake opportunity there for P4. He looked like he was going to go. Thunder looked like he was going to go for that move, decided to back out of it and played it very sensible. And again, he could probably have dived up the inside there, but I think what he's thinking as well of is the slipstream, trying to make sure that we keep hold of the slipstream to the cars in front, because if you go for a move, it doesn't pay off. You both come out in, like, you lose time, you go in the gravel, etc., and then you've lost the slipstream. So sometimes it is safer to think about the overall race rather than just that instant move. But obviously I think he could have probably have gone for that. However, going through these corners, you can see using that -3 bias for this one, I did start I think with -5, but I found that -3 just gave me a little bit more rotation on the rear, and also just kind of helped us turn it into the corners while trail braking. But a little bit of a mistake through there. You can see that P4 actually caught up and gained quite a bit of time. We've actually lost quite a bit to P2 during this phase of the race. We're down to a second behind now. You really don't want to lose that slipstream. It's so important for me as well in these cars where I do have pace. You can see by lap 3 we didn't really have that much of a slipstream through lap 3. I think the last half lap we had none at all. But we still managed to do a fairly good 1 minute 38.7. But then suddenly the lap time drops and then it goes back again. It's just consistency with myself with this car, these type of cars, which I really need to work on. But saying that, I do think that this was one of the harder cars to actually keep consistent, especially at a track like Laguna Seca, quite a technical track. So a lot of opportunities to make mistakes. As you can see, we've got that slipstream quite solidly back now, back into the 7/10, 8/10 range, and now we just need to try and stay within the draft range. This is a very hard race because you're constantly trying to look in the mirror to see where P4 is, and you're constantly looking up to P2 to see if they're going to make a mistake, if there's any opportunities to maybe grab that position from them. But yeah, we're just trying to keep solid pace, keep it on the track at this point, and while we're in a podium, trying to keep it on the track and make sure that we don't make any silly mistakes. As we're now coming up to halfway through the race, we're going to skip ahead now to lap 9, and you see that P4 is right up our rear, you can see, and we have a massive oversteer moment. He's going to go for a move now. He's got the inside line. I'm going to give him space on the inside and try and hang it round the outside while carrying speed. Very close driving, side by side through here. Absolutely brilliant driving. You can see on the bottom left hand corner on the replay camera just how close this is. We're going to now try and take that inside line where the extra grip is. He's going to try and hold the outside line. We're going to give him the space on the exit so that obviously we don't push him onto the gravel, and he's actually made that work, and we're going to tuck into the slipstream, so down to P4. However, going through the left hand corner, a little bit of a moment for Musto, and a little mistake. He nearly lost the rear but managed to save it. However, he lost the momentum, so we're going to get that P3 back and back up into that podium position. So a little bit of luck there to put us back into the podium positions. Sometimes you just need that little moment of luck when you've just had a little bit of an issue yourself, just to make the race come back to yourself. However, again, The issue now is the slipstream. We've completely lost the toe to P2, so we're going to have to do a lot of heavy defending now for quite a few laps to try and hold off the driver behind in this race. And looking in the mirror, we actually have someone else to defend from. You can see as the driver goes off, I think that was Org. Unfortunately for Org, some sort of issue there. Contact maybe. Was it Org? We can't actually tell. Org is still in P5, so that might have been a different driver. Might have been SVDR actually. Had an issue there. But now we have obviously PCM behind us. And we skip ahead to lap 11 now for the final few laps in this race. You can see going through that left-hander, we had a little bit of an issue. I should have went defensive straight away. However, we didn't, and we decided to brake very late for this corner to try and hold on to this podium position, almost losing it, just about keeping it on the track without getting a penalty, and somehow managed to keep hold of P3. But PCM is putting us under a lot of pressure in this race, and Org obviously putting them under pressure. Musto also behind that, Musto Thunder behind that. Incredible racing going on. You can see a lot of close driving, very close proximity between all four cars on the track at the moment. Just look at that bottom left hand corner at the replay camera and you will see just how close this is. But looking at the gap as well, we've now got 2.4 seconds to P2. We really need to try and push on to see if we can get in that slipstream, because if we can just get a bit of a draft from the car up ahead of us, it should help us out in terms of defending into the braking zones. As you see PCM there again going for a move, and you have the pinball effect. Then you could see it happen again then, the pinball effect of a car braking, another car hitting him, and it's something that Gran Turismo needs to get sorted. I don't know if it's gone worse recently, but it seems to be more visible and more evident recently. Something seems to be causing more of it, so let's hope something is done about that, because it's not nice to see. I would much rather proper collisions on this game, so maybe for the next game some proper collision physics with the cars actually taking some of that impact from collisions off, you know, the forces actually absorbing some of the forces rather than just ricocheting it off and bouncing cars away. As we now work our way up the hill again, we've just got over just 2.5 laps to go in this race to hold on to a podium position as we go very wide, almost onto the gravel, just about keeping the car on the track. That was a scary moment there. An inch further and our race probably would have been over, because the whole car would have rotated. PCM again has a little look up that inside. We're going to keep taking that line because it's very hard to brake late for P4 into that corner, and we're just about picking up the slipstream again from P2. It looks like he's had a bit of an issue, and also it looks like his tyres are possibly starting to go a little bit weaker. I'm not sure what brake bias he was running, whether he was running more of a neutral brake bias, but at this point of this race, it does look like our tyres are in better condition, as we see behind Musto Fonda going for a move into that final corner, side by side behind us. Incredible driving. That's good for me though. That's going to give me a little bit of breathing space so I can actually concentrate on trying to home in on P2. Is this P2 position possible? I wasn't sure. Can we try and push on and see if we can get into the slipstream range really close behind? We're definitely in that slipstream range now. It's whether we can push on enough to be able to go for a move. That is the final thing now. We've got 2 laps to do it. Can we try and find somewhere on the track that there will be an overtake move possible? P2 seem to have very good pace around here, so it is going to be difficult. But we're not going to give up on that opportunity. If there's any chance of getting that P2, I really wanted to take it. But a podium obviously would still be very satisfactory in this combination, and there would be some quite decent points up for offer. I think P3 was 311 points or something like that, so you know the points are not too small for a podium position as we work our way up this hill into this final really fast left hand corner for the penultimate time. Just one more time to do this correctly after this attempt. P2 again seemed to be very hesitant on getting close to that curb. I don't know if he's just making sure that he doesn't make a mistake, because that was where I think some of his other mistakes have happened, which has given us the slipstream back and also lost him the slipstream to Favaris. But working our way through the corkscrew again, very cautious there. We don't want to get a penalty through there or make a mistake through there. You really have to make sure that you brake in time, carry the speed through, upshift at the right time, and now we're going to be pushing on for one more final lap. We're coming up to the final corner on lap 13. Can we somehow get close enough? As P2 definitely looks like he's pushing. It must have been tyres, because he looks like he's driving that car to the limit, and it looks like he's just not getting the grip out of it. But this slipstream is really helping me out now. You can see it's giving me that ability to really be able to defend from P4, so we're not coming under too much pressure on these final few laps. But you can see on that replay camera it is still very close between P2, P3 and P4. A bit of a gap then to P5, so it looks like these positions are nearly finalised as P2 goes very deep into that corner. We saw an opportunity Thought I might be able to get alongside, however, with that wide line, P2 gets that massive amount of acceleration out of the corner, and again, he misses the apex through there. Can I somehow try and get some grip and try and see if we can go for a move on this final lap? There was no way I was giving up on this position. You can see as he hits the sausage again. One thing again, we told you, you don't want to hit them sausages. They can send you off the track and really ruin your races. We have a little look up the inside there, just trying to make him think that we're going to go for a dive. No way I'd ever dive from that far back into this corner. It's a very hard corner to get an overtake done. But again, working that slipstream, trying to get as close as possible. And now we really have to chuck it through here and try and get as much speed as possible. But we get a massive oversteer moment. We just about hold on to it. He also has a bit of an oversteer moment. We're going to go into the corkscrew. Can we go for a move through here? Not really an opportunity. Decided to brake early and see if he'd brake late and try and make sure that we get a good line through here. But he actually nailed that, unfortunately for myself. I was expecting that he might think that I was going to lunge it, brake a bit deep and give me an opportunity to go for a move. However, he absolutely nailed it 100%, as we have a massive moment on the rear there, just about saved it. PCM behind decides to back out of that move. He could have possibly thrown it up the inside. It would have possibly ended in disaster. And then into the final corner, you can see he's faked that move again. We're not going to fall for that. Through the final corner, working our way down the final straight. And what an amazing, intense race that was. Thoroughly enjoyed that from start to finish. Really enjoyed the live stream race as well when we live streamed it. Was super intense. FIA mode engaged 100%. And we come away with a very solid P3 out of that race. Now, you can see Favaris in the lead. Unbelievable job. With a penalty as well. Crazy speed from Favaris. Untouchable in that race. Everyone else 13-14 seconds behind. Nothing we could really do to compete with him. The only way we could have stayed with him would have been slipstream. And we come away with P3 and 311 points. 2 places gained in the race. 100% happy with that, and that actually increases our points in the FIA Nations Championship. So hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit that subscription button if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, and hit that notification button so you don't miss any future streams or live or videos. Thanks again for watching, everyone.